In this chapter, I'm going to show you how to create doors and windows. And doors and windows are pretty quick and easy to create. However, you can spend a lot of time creating a lot of detail in windows that's certainly unnecessary. In the first sections, I'm going to show you how to create simple doors and window frames. And then I'm going to show you a plugin called 1001 Bit Tools, a free plugin that quickly auto-generates doors and windows based off of profiles. Let's get started with creating our generic door. This door here we'll start with is just our closet door, and we want this in a closed position. So go ahead and take the rectangle tool and draw a box around the opening. Now take the select tool, double click to select the face, right click and make it a group, double click to enter that group, and now we want to offset the face 2 inches. However, if we hide the rest of the model, you'll notice it offsets all 4 edges. Let's take the move tool and move this bottom edge up in the blue axes so that we only have 3 of the edges that return here. I'll unhide the rest of the model and now push-pull this out just a 1/2 inch. Just to add a little bit of detail, take the line tool, find the midpoint, and just draw a line straight down. And that's all the level of detail that I want for these doors. I don't want them to be highly drawn or rendered. I'll show you later ways in which you can grab components from the 3D warehouse that have more detailed doors. For the bathroom door here, let's take the rectangle, similar process. We'll draw our rectangle, make our group, offset 2 inches, hide the model, move the bottom edge up, push-pull out a 1/2 inch. In this case, however, I want to show the door open. Right now, it's just a single face, and it's connected to the trim. Take the select tool, double-click the face, make it a group, and now use the rotate tool and rotate from the blue axes on that bottom edge and rotate this out 90 degrees. Unhide the rest of the model. Double-click on our group, and let's push-pull this 2 inches. So now we have our door open. We can take the select tool and just click outside of the model. Last door that we want to do here is just this door here. So again, rectangle, group, offset, hide rest of model, move that edge up, push-pull 1/2 inch, group, rotate this out 90 degrees. The key point of advice for creating windows is understanding the level of detail that you want to show and convey in your model. For example, if we're doing a rendering of this living room area and it's a very close-up view, then we want to create a high-level detailed window here. However, if we're creating a rendering that is more open, let's say right here, then we don't have to model as much detail because you're going to lose that quality as you're further away from the subject. Understanding that will make it a lot easier as you're modeling to really focus on areas that you need to include detail, and of course areas where you can take shortcuts. Our rendering will have little detail since we're just going to walk past the window and really never see it in full detail. Creating the window is the same process as creating the door. We want to begin with the rectangle tool. However, instead of drawing on the outside, a lot of times what I like to do is start from the midpoint here and draw that to the midpoint of the bottom edge. Take the select tool, double click, and then right click and make this a group. Go ahead and double click and enter the window frame. Now this is divided into 3 sections. So what I want to do first is offset the outer section 2 inches. And then to figure out the spacing, it's actually 2 feet from the left and 2 feet from the right. We can do that creating a guide. And And then take the line tool, draw a line straight down, and another line straight down. And we could draw a guide and then move over 2 inches and draw a guide and move over 2 inches. Or we can take the select tool, select each of the lines, take the move tool plus control, and copy this over 2 inches. And then select the face and move this over 1 inch. And that'll get us in our center. Edit, delete guides to remove those guides. And now to create this all as one face, you can erase the little bit of geometry. And you can push-pull this out 2 inches. Let's unhide our model. That looks pretty good. Let's go to the outside. And notice how it's now flush here. Okay, let's create another window type, and that's a double hung window. Let's orbit outside. Take a look at the top 2 windows in the master bedroom. To create the double hung window, we're going to draw a rectangle and then separate the rectangle in 2 and then push-pull the elements to create the 2 parts of the windows that would essentially slide up and down. Go ahead and take the rectangle tool, draw a rectangle over the front face here. And like previous ones, double click and then right click and make it a group. Let's go ahead and double click inside our group. Take the line tool and draw a line to break this into 2 separate faces. Next, offset 2 inches and double click to offset the other element 2 inches. Now before you extrude, we want to separate these into 2 separate pieces. So take the select tool, select the top element or the top window, and group it, and then do the same with the bottom. Now take the select tool, double click inside the top one, and push pull this out 2 inches, and push pull the bottom one out 2 inches as well. Take the select tool just to click outside of that. We now want to move the bottom window in front of the top window. Select both of them and move them inside the room. So we need to move this in the green axis. Let's orbit inside. You can move this in a little bit further and move it in 1 more inch. That way it's 1 inch on this side. And it looks like it's 3 inches on that side. And 1 inch on the top here. All right, the next thing that we can do, double click inside our group. And let's push pull this face back, not all the way to 2 inches. We just want to push this back 1 inch. And the same for the top. Take the paint bucket, click on the brick or the materials in the model, and we want to select the translucent one that we used downstairs and apply it on both faces here. Also take the silver and apply it to both elements there as well. Now, since this window is the same as this window, we want to right click and make this a component. And then we want to move copy it. The last thing that we notice is that the top face here should actually be up further. So double click again to enter this face. Select a selecting window from left to right around that top area. And then that way it only is selecting the elements in that top area there. Take the move tool and just move this up, making sure you're in the blue axes. Can't find the blue axes, remember you can press the up arrow key to lock in the blue axes. and we just want to infer it to the top point right there. If you're having a hard time finding that point, you can always click on the X-ray mode, and that'll allow you to see through the model. Let's take a look at how to install plugins inside of SketchUp. If you're not familiar with plugins, these are extensions that developers and programmers have added to create additional features and tools within inside the SketchUp API or the program itself. Some are for specific workflows. For example, there's a solar panel plugin that allows you to place panels along a face and then calculate the kilowatt hours that that panel actually generates. The plugin that we want to take a look at is one that's called 1001 Bit Tools. To install it, in previous versions of SketchUp, you'd have to go onto different websites and different forums to find plugins that were really kind of all over the place on the internet. In SketchUp 2013, all you have to do is go to Window, Extension Warehouse. The Extension Warehouse houses all of the plugins that SketchUp has to offer. Let's take a look at some of the tools within the 1001 Bit Tools plugin. Just started a new document. Now, the toolset has a lot of different drawing tools, and you can actually go on the developer's website and watch some of the videos of how the tools actually work. Now, I mostly use the tools towards the later end of here, and these are more of the architectural 3D tools. The first one is this one. Go ahead and click it. It allows you to create vertical walls. And in this case, you can define a wall thickness and a wall height. After you draw it, you can actually make it as a group, which is great, keeps it isolated. And here you can just click Build Wall. And now wherever you click, it's going to build the wall based off of those dimensions. I use this quite a lot if I'm importing a 2D CAD file, and then you can just trace over the line work. To finish off the walls, all you have to do is just double click. You'll notice it creates it as a group, and it keeps all your edges nice and clean. The other tool that I like is this one here. It's the Create Wall Openings. And in this case, let's create a wall opening that's 3 feet wide by 7 feet tall, and then click Create Opening. And now it'll place your cursor in the bottom left-hand corner, and you can simply double click to create an opening. Click the tool again. Click Create Opening, and click another one. The next tool is the Door Frame tool. Now to get this to work, you first need to draw a rectangle around the face. And notice that we drew this in the front of the face here. Let's take a look at the Window Frame tool within the 1001 Bit Tools plugin. First though, let's create another opening. And in this case, let's make it 3 feet wide by 4 feet tall. Click Create Opening. And a nice feature actually, you can click once to set your starting point. So it's going to line it on this plane. You can click a second time to set your horizontal distance. And then the third click here, we can actually determine it to be 2 feet. And that way it creates an opening 2 feet off the ground. Now for the window frame, like we did with the door frame, take the rectangle tool, draw a rectangle over that face, click on the select tool, and click on the window frame icon right here. Like the door frame, it has similar features, like a rectangular frame with beveled edge, and a rectangular recessed or extruded edge. Most importantly, creating the window frame in relation to the face, we want to click it in the back. Go ahead and click Create. And what it does differently than it does with the opening here is it actually creates a separate face for the glazing. If I double click to enter this group, you'll see we have the trim. Then we also have a group, which is the glazing here. So that's a group nested within a group. This actually makes it a lot easier to move or manipulate, or if you're adding more detail, you can do that here. In this group, we're going to add more detail. Double click, make sure you pre-select the front face, and click this tool here. This is the panel divider. It allows you to create a mullion system. So we can use the rectangular frame with beveled edges, and we're going to have 3 rows and 3 columns. We're going to make sure the panel location is in the middle since we're using the middle glazing here. Go ahead and click Create window frame. Now you have the trim and a window. Now to model all of this window detail would take a really long time, even for an expert. I typically would never model this amount of detail just because it takes way too long. However, this plugin really adds some character to the model, and it makes it a lot easier to make any changes. For example, all the glazings are now separate groups. The mullion system is a group, and then of course the outer trim is a separate group. So there's 5 great tools that 1001 BitTools plugin offer, and there are certainly many more. There's quick and easy staircase and railings. There's a circular staircase plugin. There's a nice one to create rafters and different roof pitches, as well as one for louvers. So take a look at these plugins, as well as many others the extension warehouse has to offer. Let's move back into the house and create more detail by adding the fireplace.